Hey, good morning, everyone, and hello and welcome to the part two of the session on driving innovation from India and managing the innovation lifecycle complexities. Thanks to all of those who joined us yesterday and are joining us today as well. Yesterday, we had a very interesting discussion with Sai Prasad from TCS and Rajneesh Kini from Cyient, where they shared their perspectives from a engineering service provider perspective. So today's session is focused on GCCs. And we have very special guests again today. We have Gopi Nath, who is the Senior Director of Systems Engineering at Western Digital Corporation, and Mohan BV, Senior Technical Director, Technology Strategy and Mobility Next at Bosch Global Software. So today we will, just like yesterday, we will have them showcase an innovation that their organization has worked on. They'll walk us through the highlight of the innovation, the approach that they took to the innovation, and what is it that it is about their organization that enables them to build such interesting innovations. So let me begin with Mohan, if you could introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks and welcome all to this session, and thank you NASSCOM for this opportunity. First of all, my name is Mohan and I'm a Senior Technical Director at BJSW, and I take care of topics of innovation and incubation, mainly in the space of digital. From last 1 year, I'm also handling how these innovations can make a difference in the mobility sector, mobility being our major business. How do we add value and not just the scale part from our organization back into Bosch? So that's my key role as of now. And some of the evolving technologies like software-defined vehicles and digital e-commerce on the vehicles, these are the topics that we deal with at BGSW. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mohan. Over to you, Gopinath. So if you could quickly introduce yourself as well.
Thanks, Karan. Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to this session. I'm Gopinath Balakrishnan, joining from Western Digital Corporation. I'm very excited to be here. It's my pleasure and privilege to represent WDC here in this big forum like NASSCOM. I am working as Senior Director, Systems Design Engineering at Western Digital. I've been working here for 16 years across various roles. Currently, I own system team which enables all the products that goes out of this company, anything flash, whether it be consumer products or OEM products or any automotive mobile products. So looking forward for this session. Thank you. Back to you, Karan.
Thank you so much, Gopinath. So just like yesterday, before we begin this session, we will have a quick audience poll. Avinash, if you could bring up the audience poll, right? So for those of you who joined us yesterday, you can again take a shot at answering these questions, but we expect a lot of unique audience today. So we have 3 questions before we start off, because again, this will help set the stage, set the premise for the later part of our discussion planned today. Our first question is, how big a priority is innovation in the context of your organization? Right? Is it high, medium, low? What kind of innovation is your organization focused on? Is it product, process? And is the current focus of innovation disruptive, incremental, or both? Right? So if we can have the audience quickly, key in their results, and we will see where we stand. So in about 10 seconds, Avinash, if we could have the responses. All right. Okay, very similar to what we saw yesterday, high priority for a lot of you. It's still a medium priority for some of you, but yeah, we had one person say it's not so much of a priority. What kind of an innovation is your organization focused on? Overwhelming majority stating product innovation. And by the way, today we're going to be talking both the organizations that we have represented today through Mohan and Gopinath would be talking about a cutting edge innovation from their respective organization. And finally, is the current focus, what's the current focus of innovation? Disruptive, incremental, or both? again, we see a large portion actually saying disruptive, or for that matter, both. So let's begin this session. I'll start with Gopinath. So Gopinath, Western Digital has come up with a lot of cutting edge innovation over the years, and more specifically, Western Digital India has been contributing in a major way to a lot of innovations. And our intent today is for us to walk through one of those cutting edge innovations that your team has worked on. So what would be interesting for us is to understand what was the problem statement that you were seeking to address, and what was the solution that you came up with? So what are some of the key highlights of the solution, key features, key differentiators? What kind of business benefits it's delivered to your organization in terms of probably creating a new revenue stream, or maybe reducing costs of R&D, and also for the customers of WDC. So over to you, Gopinath.
Thank you, Karan. So let me start with some context. So WDC is an iconic storage company. So, and we know today nearly the data that we generate is growing. It's at zettabyte scale. So 120 zettabytes of data is being generated, but by about 5 billion endpoint devices. And only 10% of that data is stored today. We are losing remaining 90% of the data. And these are goals for us, which can create value. How can we create more storage? That the only way to create that is by achieving scale and reducing cost. So, but the problem statement here is, how do we scale the cost, get to the cost point where we can store all these data, and but if you see at the same time, the endpoint devices, the performance requirements, the power is going higher, the power performance requirements higher, and also the quality that they require is growing up. How do you scale the cost down yet maintain higher performance and quality is the problem that we always try to solve in anything that we do. So we have been doing multiple solutions over time to achieve this. One of the solutions that I'm going to talk about is, in order to reduce the cost in a hardware, is by removing the components in the BOM, bill of materials, or reducing the cost of the component itself, right? We have been working on both the fronts. We started in the SSD world, where DRAM, every SSD had its own DRAM. By removing DRAM was one of the innovation that was led by WD as a global team, and that led to a lot of cost reductions. At the same time, we always take advantage of the newer technologies that's developed within WD. So the main component in the storage device is flash, NAND flash. So the NAND flash, every 18 months, there's newer technology, which is lower cost than the previous technology. So how do we take advantage of this newer technology and productize? Every new technology comes with its own challenge. So we are at that time of the NAND flash scaling, where we are also seeing logical scaling. So in addition to physical scaling, we are seeing logical scaling. This logical scaling happens once in a decade, where we moved from 1 bit per cell to 2 bit per cell to 3 bit, and now we are going 4 bit per cell. Imagine storing 4 bits in the same physical cell. So with these newer technologies come with tighter design margins, and that poses challenges in meeting performance, where consumers want even higher performance and even higher quality. So the problem statement is how, as a team here, we started to take the X4 or 4-bit per cell technology and build solutions and yet meet this performance and quality requirements of the end consumer need is what the team has been working on. Yeah. This is one of the, in addition to several innovations, this is one of the main.
In terms of what's the kind of traction that this innovation has already got in the market, if you could throw some light on that, Gopinath.
So the 4-bit per cell products, we started this journey 5 years ago. We started adopting these technologies in consumer solutions, where relatively easy to meet performance requirements and quality requirements. And we have demonstrated and realized revenues there. And then we started proliferating these technologies into solid state drives. And in solid state drives, in some of the value segments, and also proliferated this technology into portable SSDs and displacing some of the existing solutions with this technology already in the marketplace. Now we are in that moment of the technology where we are actually building products to take this technology to higher performance and to OEMs. So it has been a journey so far, yeah.
Interesting. So Mohan, over to you. If you could again talk about the innovation that you plan to showcase that was delivered by Bosch Software, and talk about the highlights, differentiators, the impact that the innovation has created.
Sure, Karan, thanks. So even though we are named as Bosch Global Software, being in a mobility company, and when we have to innovate for mobility, we can't live away with the hardware. So the product, what we innovated is a combination product, which has a hardware element or a hardware plus element, which is a software part of it. So the product is named iTrans, standing for Intelligent Transport Management System. The system itself consists of 3 parts. The first part is the hardware, which is a connected telematics unit, which actually is automotive grade, which goes into the vehicle, be it a passenger car or a commercial vehicle. Then we have intelligent software on the edge of this device. This connects to the outside world on, earlier we started with 2G, 4G, and now we are on the 5G plan. Then we have a cloud, or what we call as offboard, where we actually utilize the data coming from this ecosystem for multiple purposes, which the OE or the owners of the vehicles and so on will get benefit from. This is a typical telematics system, which is out there for long. What did we do from BGSW? So we wanted to bring this into a market with automotive grade. Most of the products which is available today were all in the aftermarket sense. So we saw an opportunity from India region, particularly in this region, to have this for our global OEMs who operate out of India and then have their vehicles sold in the international market. So our innovation, today I would like to emphasize on 2 parts within this product innovation. One is on the hardware, which is the antenna design or the RF design that we did. And the other one is on the software element, which is firmware over the air updates. So I'll first talk about the antenna design. The antenna design, we had a global customer who operates both in the context of India and North America. And they sell engines in these regions. And some of these engines also reach European Union. So when these engines have to go in each of these regions, the manufacturer, the OEM, wanted to ensure that this connected device which he wanted to order on us had to be compliant for engine specifications. It's no more a vehicle somewhere we are putting it a more safe place, but it's on the engine. You know, when we mount it on an engine, the engine is burning, and there are a lot of RF issues that we face there. So the innovation, what we did was the actual RF design, the antenna, the reliability characteristics that we put into the device, the way we validated this entire device and so on. And we could at least file a few patents around this due to this activity that we did out of India. So what was surprisingly different, the way we approached this was, usually as a GCC, we are supposed to be mostly on the service side of the delivery in the entire value chain of what we deliver for the global business. Here, we took a bit of disruptive innovation to build the entire product, because we didn't have any divisions who were actually ready for these markets and for such a product which can go on the engine. So finally, we delivered the world's first automotive grade engine mountable telematics unit with the complete software, which was reliable for automotive grade and connecting to the cloud, both the Bosch cloud for device data and for the OEM cloud for more of the application data. So this is what we achieved in this innovation.
That's very interesting, Mohan. And for the audience, we just wanted to also, share with you the context of how we constituted today's panel. So we had Mohan representing automotive industry. We have Gopinath representing the high-tech industry. Each one of them have very different approaches to innovation, different cycles in which the innovation is done, the pace at which the innovation is done. And that is one of the reasons where we actually now want to understand a little more about the approach that you took to innovation. But before we get there, I just want to run a quick audience poll in terms of trying to understand what are the challenges that the audience face in the context of your own respective organizations when it comes to driving innovation. So you can actually type out your responses in the chat box. We'll give ourselves probably about 30 seconds for you to type out. And I would also request the panelists to in fact look at coming in from the audience. Okay, so let me start reading what I see. They say not all team members may be interested in innovation. Patent filing is a challenge. Funding, getting resources together, getting the customer, working closely with the customer, building an innovation mindset. We'll get to that in some time. We have some more thoughts before we close this. Research-based innovation. So I'm guessing it's more of, innovation that involves fundamental research, organizational culture, getting the right kind of market inputs, because it's not just about technology. Is the technology aligned to the market needs? Priority conflict, I think this is a common issue for a lot of organizations, which is conflict of priority between what is the day-to-day delivery versus the focus on innovation. Great. So thank you so much to the audience for sharing your thoughts in terms of the challenges. What I would also encourage the audience to do is post your questions as we progress this discussion. So we'll try to bring it up at the appropriate time. But as we head into the approach itself that I mentioned about a little while ago, so Gopinath and Mohan, if you could talk about, how did you navigate the nuances and complexities around funding, business case building, stakeholder alignment, cultural complexity? And again, both of you represent organizations with two different cultures. One is a German heritage company. The other one is a North America company. So how did you go about the nuances? What were the challenges that you faced? And what were some of the best practices that enabled you to ultimately drive this innovation?
Mm-hmm. Maybe I go first. So primarily, as usual, a GCC center would always need, always is set up from a service mindset. And for us to then say that we are now doing an innovation, also going into a disruptive mode, would need a lot of convincing act back home. What we did primarily is we didn't do disruption or innovation which was not directly aligned with the core business. We first started to say that we categorized the innovation possibilities into what we call as core adjacencies and beyond. So when we categorized this and we discussed with our leadership team and back in the headquarters, we clearly differentiated how can we move just from being a scaling engine to becoming a value engine for the parent company of Bosch. So we had to navigate through this, and not that we had to then move the entire organization into an innovation mode. That's not going to work, because the primary purpose for which these centers have been set up in regions like India is because they need the scale, they need the required expertise on a sustained basis. Now, what we did was, instead of taking extremes, which is isolated in the innovation happening in small pockets, or a completely democratized or a completely innovative company for our entire company itself, we took a kind of midway. And we created what we call as an innovation organization, which manages the innovation fund. They don't do the innovation by themselves. They are basically the facilitating team. And then we put out certain focus chapters on this core adjacencies and beyond for Bosch businesses. And then all our ideations, all our concepts, and which led to the funnel of innovation to finally build our bets, were based on these adjacencies which we could align with the counterparts and get it going. Your second question was on market inputs and so on. So this is where we in fact took a path of co-innovation, which means it's not that we did all by ourselves. The biggest problem that we will face when we are in this setup of a GCC is we try to do heroics all by ourselves. So, so if we are able to somehow give scope to the teams of who represents market also from global centers to be part of this innovation, you bring them into your constellation, and you are able to then maneuver some of these nuances which will come, why this center is doing this while you are set up for this purpose kind of approach. Then you have an inclusive approach rather than an isolated approach. And these are the two things which made us go to the extent that we could do on the products.
Okay. So what about the ecosystem itself? Did you, in the context of the innovation itself that we were speaking about a little earlier, how did you, maybe you mentioned about, not doing it alone, but bringing in the ecosystem. So maybe if you could highlight how it was done.
Yeah. So as any organization would do, we could not, we had done innovation in the past, which are all incremental in nature, but they were mostly unstructured in nature, which means we do not know where we bring the right stakeholders, where we see the maturity, where we take go, no go decisions. These things were not very much streamlined. I would say this is around 4 or 5 years, until 4 or 5 years back in the setup of BGSW here. So what we did different when we took on this innovation journey together with the product that I just mentioned, iTrans, is we set up something called as the Bosch Innovation Framework. So what does this framework do? We clearly know the zone in which we operate in the innovation mode and the zone in which we have to operate in a product mode, or what we call as a productionization mode. So this understanding should be very clear. Otherwise, what mostly we end up doing is we emotionally get attached to a particular topic, which we start off in the innovation zone, and continue for years in this entire zone without a proper exit path of moving into production, or saying I don't need to do this anymore because this is already disrupted in the market. So this decision-making capability has to be empowered for the teams who embark on this journey in this organization. So we had this, I would say, a consulting or an advisory board attached to this, who comes from the expertise across the organization, who then give not just the support on how can it be done better, but also advise on what the market trends are, where they're moving. They become our advisory council for continuing, not continuing, or specific adaptations, what we have to do, and where we exit into a production mode, where the innovation zone then becomes more scaled mode. So we divided this entire path of innovation framework into 3 phases. The first phase we call as pre-seed, similar to how a venture capitalist sees an entrepreneurial organization. The pre-seed is where we have open ideas on these zones in core, adjacency, and beyond. And we have open, and there it's a bit more easier for people to access the funds. Then you have a seed fund where it's more serious, where they have to show the market adjacencies, which primary interviews they have done so that this product or innovation makes meaningful sense. And then by end of the seed is where we take a decision for scale innovation. So this is how we did our innovation fund management.
So in the context of an innovation, Mohan, what do you see as a success metric? A success metric is, we had a question around patent filing, right? So is patent a success metric or customer adoption a success metric? So from a Bosch perspective, how do you really define those success metrics of innovation? And especially, how did you do it for iTrams?
Okay. In the past, we always relied on patents. So we file maximum number of patents in the mobility world per day, and that was our core strength. But that was the strength when most of the products were all electromechanical kind of ecosystems. When we move to software-intensive ecosystems, patent filing may not be the right approach to begin with. Because when you do patent filing, you have to wait until when the software industry itself would have moved much ahead, because the life cycle of the patent management itself is quite large to the kind of speed at which the software moves. Hence, when we talk of this, I would take the second option, where we more look at how a customer is going to consume this, because these digital ecosystems have a life cycle of not more than 3 years, in which there is an evolution cycle that kicks in. So we need to be ready for these adoptions with the innovations that we do for each of these cycles. So for example, when you are on the Web 3.0 or on a different ecosystem in which these ecosystems have to work with. Hence, we took in iTrams these 3-year cycles. And most of the cycles were driven from a market sensing more than a patent filing approach.
Perfect. Perfect. And just in terms of the team that was constituted for this, Mohan, was it, how was the team identified? How was the team constituted? Were they given, so typically when you work on the regular delivery, again, a question that came up, the committed delivery question that came up from one of the audience members. How did you really go about constituting the team? What KRAs did you define for them? And how was the team even picked?
So I would put it in way. Obviously, it was not very ideal situation that we could do it so smoothly. Okay, this was not the case. I would admit that. But what we did eventually to get it right is, so we, apart from the key members whose heart was in this innovation, because we believed in the product idea and so on, and we pitched it to the board and got the initial approval to embark the other members into this innovation zone. We didn't go in isolation. We democratized it, but in that, we also announced somebody who takes on this journey will get something called as innovation sabbatical. So we introduced this term called as innovation sabbatical, which means somebody who really has a kind of energy, passion, content to be part of this should be given the right priority on this particular topic. But because of our organization setup, we move into a sabbatical mode, which means for that period of time, the person can actually come in, experience, contribute, make the difference, and then be back in wherever he is if he opts for. So this democratic approach made us attract a good talent who are more innovation driven, because it also means they also have to be a bit emphasized on the kind of, usually innovation journeys are all also with risks, which means what will happen if my innovation doesn't succeed? What happens if the market doesn't adopt? So these risks we have to cover up. So we coined the term sabbatical, then saying that you move it from A zone to a B zone.
Interesting. So you also mentioned just a little while ago again that you had to make a case for this with your HQ, with the board. What does it really entail to say that, look, we in India as a part of GCC want to deliver this innovation? So what's the narrative, what's the story that you take to the HQ, to the board, to say that, hey, trust in us and we can deliver?
So I think also I link this to your previous question, which I couldn't answer, which is the KRA part of it. So first and foremost, the headquarters asked, because you are so far running on the KPIs of a service organization and you are now wanting to do this, which is more in the innovation zone, what are the kind of KRAs you would like to pick up? Obviously, when we are picking up an innovation zone, the first KRA we would pick up is how the market adoption is going to happen. Because if I'm moving from a pre-seed to seed, I can't do happy engineering from pre-seed to seed and say that I'm doing an innovation, because then the organization will say you are using the funds which were meant for something else into this mode. So that becomes a kind of clash of the purpose. So hence, our key the thing that we told is irrespective of we do the initial pre-seed in a more democratized way, the seed part is where we ensure that the KRS are met with respect to market adoption, market telling that I would need this product if it is made available in a scaled mode. Or when we say adjacency, iTrams also become an adjacency in some of the Bosch businesses, where we say the Bosch business, which has to sell more in a specific segment, can be augmented if this part is made available along with this. A connectivity unit like iTrams, enabling a computational intensive electronic control unit to manage a powertrain or a braking ecosystem as a combinational sale makes more sense. So we took these two stories. One, of course, the market success story that we'll have to show as results. And second is this adjacency story, where we are not saying that we are doing it in isolation, but to augment and win more for Bosch. That was how we sold the story.
And why India though? So why should it be done out of India?
So I would take the phrase, we used a slide, a bit provoking slide though. We used the slide to explain the last decade was more physics, mathematics, and chemistry, and this era is more digital and software, and it's a level playing field. So this paradigm shift, and I think everybody knows majority of the software and the digital power for the world comes out of this region. I mean, that was a given platform of the country that we could make use of. But then we could also say, what kind of recruitments are we doing? So it's not just what the country can do for us, but also what kind of changes we are doing in the shifts of the way that we induct people into this organization, so that we are able to add value to those zones, even for many of the industries like mobility, where they're more moving towards being more software intensive, more digital. When the mobility moves more towards electric mobility, hydrogen fuel cells, these kind of concepts, the physical components have to be more on a software mode. So these shifts would need a lot of innovations which are more in the software zone than on a physical zone. And these are the things that we used as explanations on why we can do it in par or partnered with the headquarters.
Thank you for those interesting insights, Mohan. Let's move on to Gopi. So Gopi, your thoughts, again, a very different kind of an innovation as compared to what Mohan spoke about, different industry, different complexities. So what was your journey, right, from ideation to productionization of that innovation? How did you navigate the complexities? What were those complexities, and how did you navigate those complexities?
Thanks, Karan. So for WD India, the journey has started more than a decade ago, right? We have been innovating for more than a decade across consumer products and OEM. So in case of this innovation, there was already a need. So there is a market need, and we do have a solution. There's a market need to bring the cost down, and also the solution is to adopt new technologies. And how do we adopt these technologies into our products is the challenge. So the challenge here really is, how do we build the capability and credibility, and also how do we deliver these products at the faster time to market, innovation at speed. So these are the challenges. So for building capability and credibility, the journey has started more than a decade ago, where we were already building leadership products on consumer segments in terms of cards and removable products, where we were creating capacity leadership and performance leadership, and that's how the talents were built. So and then with those talents, and now with having a critical mass of talent in place, hiring new talents and scaling them with the existing talent, and then trying to build the product at speed while innovating is what the journey here is. Yeah. But in this case, it's in the best interest of the global org to have the delivery of India. So it was never a challenge for Western Digital to convince to have the funding, or because these are part of the programs that generate revenue.
So on that front, right? So while the business case is established, the funding is clear. I think the key element is service delivery, right? So how do you build on the credibility that already exists? So what were some of the best practices that were used to ensure that you deliver as per expectations, you deliver as per commitments that you made to the global HQ?
Right. So the products that we build are very, very cross-functional, meaning it has all components in it. And the end-to-end product delivery happen off here, including development, including validation, including qualification, even design, everything, most of it happens end-to-end here. So now bringing the cross, and then you have to, like, we are actually at the same time, we are actually solving the problem where we have to, in order to bring the cost down, we have to bring and maintain the performance. We have to keep innovating with new solutions and take in this development process. The challenge is how do we bring all these cross-functional teams together and deliver at speed and speed. So we have this technology that's coming every 18 months. How do we adopt this technology and productize as soon as possible? So every node after node, we have to deliver at speed, having the technology to the product. So we have proven from in last 4 or 5 years that we can deliver from the time the technology is available to the product. We have expedited that by, so the innovation here not only happens in terms of technically, but also happens in process and the way we validate, the way we do shift things left and deliver and productize were the key things I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So how was the talent geared up for this, right? So how do you infuse the fact that, speed is the essence? How do you, get the talent to ensure that they're well ahead in terms of the technology, a step ahead in terms of the technology understanding? So what is done in terms of, ensuring that the team that worked on this particular initiative was all ready to, go and do this successfully?
Right. So I would say it is the vision of the leadership that the bets were placed in this 4-bit per cell on the India side even 4 or 5 years ago, where there wasn't a compelling products in the market using 4-bit per cell. We started ahead and productizing removable cards and productizing products where in value segments where we can meet the performance and prepping the team to eventually now to the scale where we can deliver high performance OEM products. So it took few learning cycles. And in that process, we also learned what can be shifted left, what can be done ahead of time, where we don't have to wait till the end. And then the moment the technology is ready, that we have a product in hand. So it also comes from the mindset change and also coordinating all the cross-functional teams together, putting a plan together and driving it on a daily basis. So it's also having the talent, capability, and having that mindset, I would say.
Perfect. So let's move on to the next part of our discussion, which is, both of you spoke about the fact that, the innovations that you showcase today is not an exception, but rather a practice. It's a habit, right? So what did it take to drive or institutionalize innovation as a part of the organization? What were those success factors? So typically it's probably the way you're structured overall as an organization. It is probably the leadership commitment. It's probably the HQ commitment. It could be aspects such as the ecosystem partnerships that you have developed, either with universities or startups. So from each of your perspectives, I'll go with Mohan first. What are those elements or what are those success factors at an organization level that enables you to do this on a day in and day out basis?
I think we touched upon this a bit, but I'll elaborate this. Point number one, when we found that the value that as an India organization or a Bosch Global Software organization we can create for Bosch, we try to calibrate what should be the kind of focus that we should give on the innovation zone, irrespective of who comes on board across the organization, what should be the focus. So then we came up with some numbers, and then we told 1% of this organization should focus on innovation. That 1% can constitute from wherever. It's not that we create an isolated innovation team and all the innovation team only should do everything, because if they are not part of the mainstream, then these innovation will also not get a buy-in from our counterparts. The biggest challenge we had in the past is isolating the innovation team from core business teams. So hence we told 1% of the organization can work in this mode. And then this 1% of organization work in this mode translates to the amount what we reserve for this, what we call as innovation fund, which these teams can access to. And this can be pitched by any part of the organization. And when they pitch, the part of the pitch, like any other startups when they pitch for their funding, is to ensure what do they achieve out of this as a key result. Is the key result a independent market access? Is the key result an adjacency which they would have been aligned with our global counterparts? Is the key result a OEM wanting to do a co-creation with us? Or our customer wanting to do a co-creation with us, and we need to reserve that fund because this is not asked by our GB counterparts or our headquarter counterparts, but this is asked by our customers. And then we create this innovation as a service mode along with the customer. So these are the three clusters, and we told, let us begin with 1%. For the last 3 years, it's working. We have a largely good utilization. So we also track the utilization, the request utilization and the results kind of a thing, and wanting to ensure that there are key governance at each of the points to foster what comes out.
Perfect. What about the ecosystem partnerships itself? How much has it contributed to your innovation mindset and culture with the organization?
I would also give a lot of credit to the ecosystem. The ecosystem I would like to divide into 3 zones. The first zone is our startup zone. So we run a program called as DNA, Discover, Nurture, Align, for the startups. So what we do is it's our incubation house. So what we do is we partner with the right startups who can potentially augment or scale the innovation part that we are trying to do and not reinvent the wheel again by ourselves. So we did that. Even in iTrans example, we did that with one of the startups which came through our cohort and partnered with us, so that this innovation, not the example that I spoke of the RF antenna though, but one more part of this product which they made possible to scale. Now, the second part of it is we also find where I think as a country we are not doing good so far is whenever we call niche universities and niche colleges that we adhere to, we only go to them more from an recruitment perspectives. What we also did was we did some funding basically to say, how can you be part of some of our innovation journeys? So the ideas and approaches that the university bring, because they have the access to their faculty network, probably they will have more brains to work on that problem statement than what probably we could do in our own organization. So some of these, which of course, along with some NDAs and some whatever has to be taken care of, we ensured that we partner with many of the good universities in India to ensure that they become part of this journey. This was the second what we did. The third what we did was, in fact, we used this fund to reverse fund our headquarters. People who have this capability, but probably they are in a specific zone where we see their expertise, we requested them to be part of this journey. So it's what we call as reverse funding. So, so these are the 3 which we use apart from what we spoke of ourselves reserving some fund and making people access this and so on, which we tapped into the ecosystem to make it happen. And because we have this reverse funding, we could also access the university and the interns that we could access, for example, in North America and Germany as well in this channel.
Perfect. Gopinath, over to you. What is it that you spoke about the journey of WDC starting innovation many years ago? So, what are those ingredients that are making it happen?
So, Karan, I want to start this by saying in WD, if we don't innovate, we don't survive. So innovation is our blood, and it has to happen in day-to-day basis. So in order, and now to create innovation mindset, what is that we do as an org? We need to generate pipeline of ideas, right? And idea can be anything. Now, how do we create that pipeline of ideas? Is by creating awareness and motivating and encouraging each one of the employees. And that's where we focus on. So, and the awareness is created from day one the employee joins the org. So in the onboarding process itself, we talk about innovation, how to file for a patent, what are the process and all, train them with those and equip them. And also we provide them with regular statistics on how many patents applied, how many people participated. And then also there are readily available infrastructure like portals where statistics are readily available for every employee to take a look. And there are programs like inventor recognition events where we recognize the inventors. So this is to create awareness. So once we create the awareness, how do we encourage and motivate them? So we have a committee in our org where they meet in regular cadence and come up with these events. We have a quarterly events where we have like a patent day. We have five, let's say 5 to 6 streams of focus. On each stream there are 5 or 6 ideas chosen where the inventor comes and not only shares the idea but shares the journey, their approach to problem solving that inspires other engineers to go innovate. And we have events like Innovation Bazaar, where nearly 20% of the company come and publish their papers. Mm-hmm. Of the 20%, 7% are shortlisted and they're displayed for everybody like a bazaar, where a person can walk in and see all the ideas generated in that year. And this is very cross-functional. The person who's walking in can be from one function, can see ideas coming from other functions. That triggers his thought process, not limited to his work area, but also across that is relevant to the product. And we have seen after every such event, there's an uptick in ideas. Mm-hmm. I've seen these ideas, 40% converts into patent or trade secrets. So we also have programs like She Invents, where we have 50 mentors, 40 to 50 women mentors guiding new women employees who have not invented. So we have seen uptick in innovation. So we also have idea like hackathon, where not only ideas are generated, but actually implemented in regular cadence. So there are several such events that takes place, and these are at global and site level, but each team has a functional leader also driving their own innovation activities, their own way of encouraging their employees. So innovation is happening at every level and every day. And this is to encourage and motivate the people within the org, locally, internally. Externally also, we participate in bigger forums like NASSCOM, SNIA, and all IEEE, where even external people know what Western Digital does, and who are excited about innovation, want to be part of this data journey, can come and join us, right? So that's how the innovation is part of our blood. And for India org, like I said, the journey started more than a decade ago. And ever since, we have been delivering products that are leadership in capacity and performance on removable cards, consumer solutions. And we are also now scaled up to an extent where we are starting to deliver in every segment, whether it be automobile or mobile or enterprise or client, OEM or consumer, 4-bit per cell or 3-bit per cell, new NAND technology, new ASIC, new latest what do you call generations of interfaces, whatnot. So the team has scaled up to do that. Yeah, it has been and it has taken many years to build this talent pool. So today we are seeing that benefit.
That's interesting. We have some audience questions. We'll quickly take it up. Maybe spend about 30 seconds on each of the responses. I think there's a question to you, Mohan. A question around, can you explain a little more on reverse funding? So if you could maybe take the next 30 seconds and talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So reverse funding is not that we have to go and fund the headquarters back. That's not the approach. What we mean by here is the headquarters also would have set up certain centers across the regions, be it in Germany for us, or in North America, or in Romania, and many other places where we have access to good talents. So when we do innovation, while we take the ownership to make the innovation happen in terms of market, in terms of adjacency or core, we also need not do it in isolation. The IP rights, the risk appetite is from our organization. But tapping into the right talents, for example, when we did this, we needed somebody who knows the RF reliability validation in the right way. And that talent is only available in specific region. So we were able to tap through this and do a reverse funding there. This is one example. The second example is, there was a similar activity happening through a funding that the parent company had done in a university in Germany. So we actually added additional fund equity into that to ensure that we get some output tuned to what our innovation is. So these are the kinds in which we did reverse funding. And many times this gesture also helps because they feel that they're not actually using up our money for doing something else, but they're actually serious on doing an innovation and they want to use our expertise for a specific purpose. So this helped us in some of these instances.
Okay. There's one more question on innovation teams. Are they dedicated to the innovation projects, or do they work on day jobs and then contribute some time? I think which you answered. You said that there's 1% which is focused on innovation with a 1% budget allocation as well.
Yeah, so maybe I'll elaborate there. We have two modes even in here. We do not want to discourage somebody who want to do a part job. So because at the end of it, at some point in time, if they spend some part of their day job to think about this and something sparks to them, we do not want to curb that. So hence, we have something called as a network mode of operations for innovations and a dedicated mode of operations for innovations. The network mode is where we enable what we call as innovation enablers. So what are the innovation enablers? We did two kinds. One is a physical in nature, one is digital in nature. Physical, we called something called as Hackers Garage. So where there's a physical space with a lot of possibilities to come ideate, see things in experience and so on and so forth. So we created a digital lab and with some physical elements. So that's a physical Hackers Garage, what we call as. Then we also had a digital avatar, what we call as Sparky. This is basically how you can start ideating, pull like-minded people into your conversation, then draft a particular idea to a concept, then move it into the life cycle of what we called as innovation framework. So we drive that through this digital ecosystem, which is also connected on the social app of all the associates, so that they're also socially connected, and hence these ideas keep moving much faster than somebody sitting on a document or a web page and trying to do things. So these are the two which we did on the network mode. But on once the innovation is identified, pre-seed is to be done, then we move to this 1% zone.
Sure. Gopi, your thoughts on this question?
Sorry, Karan, can you repeat the question?
No. So is it dedicated teams or exclusive teams? So Mohan spoke about how they're
right
in a way taking a bimodal approach. So what is it?
So can you hear me okay?
I can.
So like I was just mentioning in Western Digital, everything we do is around innovation and how we productize that innovation. So there is a dedicated team that is uh, put in place for running these events to give the awareness and encourage the team to innovate. But innovation comes from every single person, whether it be the product need or even innovation for process and methodologies, even to validate, even to qualify. So it is part of our. It's a there's no dedicated team for doing the innovation. It's part of everyone's jobs.
Okay, sure.
We are in the product development space, so we have to innovate on a daily basis and regular basis. Yeah.
Perfect. So we have just a few more minutes. Avinash, if you could just bring up the question for the audience. So we heard from Bosch and from WDC in terms of some of their practices. If we could quickly take about 30 seconds where you can talk about some of the best practices that you have leveraged within your respective participating audience, can also get some insights into what those best practices are. We'll probably take about 30 seconds. You can start typing in your ideas, thoughts in the chat window. No, so one is what you heard from the audience today, what you heard from the panelists today. The second is what you are already following in your respective organizations. Okay, so we're hearing innovation framework, the patent bazaar, the reverse funding. Of course, these were something that our panelists discussed. So we have somebody saying that we have innovation weeks, once in 6 months, where teams can work on non-project activities. Interesting. Any more thoughts before we close out this question in the next 10 seconds? Design thinking, ideathons. Okay, perfect. So you can keep it coming. But I would like to take this opportunity. We are at the top of the hour. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mohan and Gopi for sharing their valuable insights, talking about what's made their respective organizations very successful when it comes to innovation. But before we close, we have yet another audience poll just to get a feedback on what you thought about the session. Avinash, if you could bring up the poll. A few questions here. How willing are you to implement the best practices, learnings, insights gathered from the session? Is it something that you want to implement in the short term, medium term, long term? How relevant was today's session to you? How do you rate the session? And then finally, yeah, that's what we would close with. So we look forward to your feedback on this session. And if you thought anything else could have been added into the session, we look forward to incorporating that in our subsequent immersive series sessions. And if you have any open questions, we couldn't get through to all the questions today. If you have some open questions, what we typically do is post every immersive session we publish a playbook, which is basically the insights gathered from these sessions, and make it available as a playbook that organizations can leverage to drive best practices. So I would like to thank both Mohan and Gopinath again. So any final thoughts before we close? Mohan?
Yeah, Two small points. One, many times we always want to do a disruptive innovation, but we also have to give weight for what we call as top line and bottom line innovations. The innovations can be on both the zones. That would make a difference from what as a country we managed to do. That was one point what I wanted to mention. But I would like to thank NASSCOM, Karan, for this wonderful session, and happy to be connected on this part with the audience and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gopinath.
I also want to take this opportunity to thank you, Karan and NASSCOM, for providing this opportunity. It is my pleasure, and also thanks to Mohan for being a panelist. Yeah, it has been very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Gopi.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and everybody have a good day. Thank you.